Okay, so now lineage and descent. Okay, so descent, when we discussed about the different types of family, I've told you descent, on the basis of descent also there are two different types, patrilineage and matrilineage. So within descent only we have discussed lineage in the previous session, but here we are studying these two as different concepts and different topics. So we will see what is the connection, whether lineage is also similar to or part of descent, or both are different concepts. We will have to see that. So this is actually the main problem with most of the aspirants. I tell you, I can promise you that most of the students just mug it up, this concept, because most of them actually really don't know about the actual concept of descent and lineage. Okay, so in a way lineage will become part of descent. I will explain that, and in another context lineage will have its own existence also. So there's a very tricky concept. Once we discuss it, it's over, and then it's a must attempt question if it is asked, and if you write it in the way that we are discussing, you're going to score very good mark, because conceptually things will be clear and the material is correct also. Okay, there is no need to read anything else for this particular topic. It's a must attempt question if it is asked, and you can see the previous year papers, the questions are repeatedly asked. So initially this introduction, if you see, this is exactly the same that we have discussed related to kinship system. So that part anyway we have done yesterday. So kinship system means what? It's all about defining the relatives. So how you define the relatives? You define on the basis of blood, consanguinal, adoption, or marriage, which is affinal or conjugal. These systems of relations are governed by what? Culturally specific norms and values. So the relations are defined, the obligations between each relatives are defined on the basis of norms and values. These are in the nature of unwritten rules which govern the way people interact with each other in the sphere of consanguinal relation and also affinal relation. Kinship system is based on primarily two broad aspects. So when we talk about kinship system, it is related to descent and lineage. Okay, so two elements of kinship system, or we can say kinship system is actually based on descent and lineage. Now we will discuss about descent. So descent is the method of limiting the recognition of kins in the kinship system. Just to understand this single line. Now descent means what? It is a method of limiting the recognition of kins in a kinship system. So let's say this is the kinship system. Okay, you can take this also as a kinship system. What is the difference here? Here the relatives are limited, but if you take the second line, this relatives are broadened. So this is one type of kinship system, we can say. This is another type of kinship system. Okay, so this is a descent is the method of limiting the recognition of kins. I can limit to this level, or I can limit to this level, or I can limit to this level. I can go higher and higher and higher. I can consider many generation as my kinship system, or kins or relatives, and based on different principles. That is what you mean to say descent principles. So we are going to study the descent principles. So based on descent principles, or descent is nothing but a method of limiting the recognition of kins. So if I decide that I don't want any relatives, the ultimate, the most reducible element is what? The family. The parents, the father, the mother, and me, and the maybe sister, brother, etc. So what is the most elementary level of kinship group? That is your family. This is the most elementary. Okay, so here only one generation is taken. You are not thinking about father's father or mother's father or any of those relatives. This is the most elementary level. You restricted, you limited your kins or kinship to this level. Now, if you want to, you can go slightly higher level also, like this. In that context, what will happen? You may consider your father's father as your ancestor, or his father as your ancestor. Maybe you go for 2 generation or 3 generation. So what will happen? Many more families will come, right? So all these are families. Can I say all these are families? So different families join together now. In which context? When I take my ancestor further, if I consider, or if I trace my identity, or if I consider I am the descendant, or this entire group is actually descendant of a common ancestor. Okay, maybe 3 generation. If you take 3 generation, it will be a particular limit. If you take 4 generation, it can be widened further. If you take 5 generation, further more widened. Okay, this group is what you call as lineage. So family, next step is actually lineage. So lineage in one way we have done. Lineage we have discussed as part of descent now. But lineage we need to discuss separately also. But that is a technical, tricky part. Here you understood lineage as a descent principle. That means limiting your kins. Now in case of lineage, you see how many generations you are taking. So you can see here, descent is the method of limiting the recognition of kins in the kinship system. Okay, I hope this is clear. These are in the nature of principles which unite people in certain kin group. Thus, descent decides a person's place in a particular group, which becomes the source of his identification. So descent actually decides, and various society will have different descent principles. One of the most common different descent principle is the recognition based on some common ancestor. So the basic way of the descent principle is based on common ancestor. You can limit your relatives based on an ancestor. I go for 1 generation, 2 generation, 3 generation, 4 generation. Like that I can actually expand what? I can actually expand my group. Okay? So you getting me? Now here if you see all the descendants of that ancestor are considered as part of one kin group. This also result in the system of obligation between the kin relations. Okay, the manner in which common ancestor is chosen result into formation of various descent groups in the society. So how you select your ancestor, whether 1 generation, 2 generation, 3 generation, or a mythical ancestor or a forgotten ancestor, it based on different descent groups will be formed. Okay, so the smallest descent group is the family. After family, lineage. So number of families will be lineage. Lineage consists of members which are considered as descendants of a common ancestor. Lineage means descendants of common ancestor whose identity is known, commonly up to 5 generation. So up to 5 generation you go. That's what you say lineage. The identity of that ancestor is known to you. Okay, it consists of families. That's what I've shown you. When you discuss at the basic level, it is family, and above that you have lineage. Now what will happen? If you go further, there will be more lineages. So number of lineages will become what? Number of lineages will become a clan. How to remove this? Okay, so you can see here number of lineages combined together to form a clan. That is at the higher level. Who are the descendants of a common ancestor whose identity is forgotten and hence remain fictitious. So one forgotten ancestor, but they all are considered together. Okay, so a number of interconnected clans are grouped into yet another grouping, that is fratry. Fratry again are considered as based on some ancestors having mythical existence, that is somewhat higher level, the exact relation of which cannot be established. So this is how it goes. First you have family, then you have lineage, number of families, number of lineages, you have clan. This is what the subcaste. You remember yesterday we have discussed about gotra, clan, all these are actually the same. Just 1 minute. Okay, so all these are actually same only. So this is nothing but the gotra. Okay, now higher level if you see mythical ancestor, what is that? It is nothing but fratry. This is similar to the caste in India. So this is how it is going. Family, then lineage. So when it comes to lineage, how many generation? 5 generation. Higher than that, forgotten ancestor if you consider, that is what clan. And above that if you go, that is what fratry. So fratry is similar to the caste. So the endogamy is actually practiced here, and clan is similar to the gotra. Exogamy is actually practiced here. Okay, lineage means up to 5 generation. So lineage we understood here as a descent principle. Are we okay with this much? Any doubt here? A very important concept. Any doubt here?
So, if we consider family, not only till father, if we consider father's father also has a family.
That will come like a different other group, but we have not defined that here. Family is the elementary group. See, there are n number of such combinations you can see, but general combinations is what we have taken.
I am telling that according to descent, it is our choice to limit ourselves up up to where we like.
No. It is not our choice to. It is the society's choice. In some societies, this will be fixed. Like these are your relatives. It is automatically you consider. It is not you are saying or your family or your father is saying he is your cousin, right? When you are born, that other person is your cousin automatically. So who decides it? It is a society which already decides. I have discussed that in the beginning itself. It is the norms and values of society.
Yes, sir. The society decides who is father, who is mother. Everything is fixed, fine.
Yes.
But we need to limit. Suppose if I say I'm okay with my family. If we consider I have limited that, then it will be decent. If I think no, father's father is also I need to have relationship like he is my grandfather. Then I can limit up to grandfather as a family that has a decent.
See, it's all about what you can do is you can limit the interaction. You cannot say that they are not my relatives. Ultimately, they are relatives. Even the higher group also is your relative. Grandfather is also ultimately your relative. You can limit the interaction. Like yesterday we have discussed, effective kin and non-effective kin. So we cannot restrict that. We can restrict only the interaction. You may not talk, you may not interact, but ultimately they are part of the same kin group. So when you're talking about clan, you all are the descendants of some community, and the intermarriage is not permitted. Within marriage, you cannot go for. Clan exogamy is what you have to practice. Whether you talk to those people or not, whether you consider them as relatives or not, is not a question. Ultimately, as per the societal norms and values, it is there.
Okay, if that's the case, descent is only up to father.
No. All these are descent groups. First descent group is family. Second descent group is lineage. Third descent group is clan. Fourth descent group is fratry. And all these cases, 1 generation, 2 generation, 3 generation, all can be different descent groups. But these are the 4 main common descent groups.
Okay. Now I understood, sir.
Okay, it's that all are descent groups, but different descent groups we have given different names.
Okay. Lineage is also a part of a descent.
Yes. Lineage is part of descent. That's what I'm saying. Here we are understanding lineage as descent group.
Okay, then where it will exist independently?
That is what we need to discuss, no? Okay, so here fratry is actually similar to caste in Indian context. Okay, so fratry again are considered based on some ancestors having mythical existence, the exact relation of which cannot be established. So I hope this much is clear. Any others have any doubt? We can make it clear here. Otherwise, this topic is something which you should not miss. In fact, in no other topic you cannot miss also. But this is something which you write. If you write, you will fetch good mark. Okay, lineage now, if you talk about, it is basically line of inheritance. Okay, so in the first lineage we can understand in 2 ways. First, we have discussed it as part of descent. So lineage is one of the descent principle. Second is, as it name indicate, this is a line. Line of what? Line of inheritance. Now what you inherit? Tell me fast. What you will inherit? Wealth and identity, right? Both are there. Identity. So from where you trace your identity, that is also related to lineage. If it is from father's side, that is patrilineage. Mother's side, matrilineage. From which side you inherit property? Okay, nowadays you inherit property from both sides, right? Or property from both sides and identity from father's side, like that. But understand, lineage is a part of descent principle, descent group. Secondly, lineage having its own independent existence in terms of inheritance. It is line of inheritance. Lineage, line of inheritance. Okay, lineage means line of inheritance. What inheritance? What you inherit? Inherit the identity, you inherit the property. Are we okay with this?
Yes.
Okay. So, lineage in socio-anthropological study, the term lineage has been used in 2 ways. Firstly, it denotes the descent group. That's what we have discussed right now, which consists of members who are descendants of common ancestors whose identity is traceable, like normally 5 generations. Secondly, the term lineage is quite often employed to denote the chosen line of inheritance or succession. In this context, it's a principle which decides the line from which relatives are chosen to be combined into kin groups, right? The term patrilineage in this context denotes the line towards male, and the male ancestor is then chosen. Sorry, if it is female, the entire meaning will be gone, right? So the male ancestor is then chosen. Similarly, matrilineage denote the line towards female, and female ancestor will be chosen. In this way, various principles relating to lineage and descent result into different types of formation of kinship system or descent system. There are broadly two types